Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Go faster. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyutama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. All right, thank you all for being here today. I'd like to put I have to hold the mic today. I'll put the disclosure out that everything that we're going to talk about today, I've received from my teachers and from hearing different great devotees, and everything that we'll talk about today is for all of our own purification, and especially my own purification. Jai. So we are in the prayers of Vritrasura, who is our one of our favorite demon devotees. That it was quite profound and amazing prayers. Yesterday we were hearing. Let's see. We were hearing some of his prayers, and he was encouraging Indra to kill him, and encouraging Indra to have faith in the words of the Supreme Lord. Nice class yesterday. And so now in this class we'll cover the last 3 verses of the chapter, and then we will finish up. Dustin, you want to read text 24?
O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet? O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant, so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes, my words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship.
So we're going to focus on this verse. We'll move on to the next one.
O my Lord, source of all opportunities, I do not desire to enjoy in Dhruvaloka the heavenly planets or the planet where Lord Brahma resides, nor do I want to be the supreme ruler of all the earthly planets or the lower planetary systems. I do not desire to be master of the powers of mystic yoga, nor do I want liberation if I have to give up your lotus feet.
Next text, please.
O lotus-eyed Lord, as baby birds that have not yet developed their wings always look for their mother to return and feed them, as small calves tied with ropes await anxiously the time of milking, when they will be allowed to drink the milk of their mothers, or as a morose wife whose husband is away from home always longs for him to return and satisfy her in all respects, I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you.
And the last text.
O my Lord, my Master, I am wandering throughout this material world as a result of my fruitive activities. Therefore, I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious and enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children, and home is continuing by the spell of your external energy, but I wish to be attached to them no longer. Let my mind, my consciousness, and everything I be attached only to you.
Okay, Jai. So we can all just look at this and see Vritrasura in this wonderful painting. For those of you who I have just came, this is the person who's speaking right now is actually the demon. It's not Indra, but the demon Vritrasura, he's praying, I don't want anything else if I have to give up your lotus feet. It's described that the devotee sees liberation or merging as hell. They say it's Narakeshu. And why is it hell? Because they no longer serve Krishna. They no longer serve the lotus feet of Krishna. So Vritrasura, he's showing such a high level of pure devotional service. And this is particularly right before he's about to die. So he's giving these prayers. And we heard yesterday in Prabhupada Priya's class that he was actually a great king. And he had a lot of suffering due to his attachment to worldly things. But now it seems he's learned his lesson. And so before he's leaving his body, he's praying, I don't want anything else. I don't want any worldly things. I don't want Brahmaloka. I don't want any kind of opulence. If I have to give up your lotus feet, let me just be friends with your devotees. How nice is that? Who wants to be friends with devotees here? Jai. And so that'll be one of our main themes today. Text 24. So this is 6:11:24. Aham hare tava padaika mula dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuya manasmarata supate gunaste Grinitava karma karotu kaya Aham hare tava padaika mula dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuya manasmarata supater gunamste Grinitava karma karotu kaya. Please chant. Aham padaika mula
Bhavitasmi bhuya
dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuya
Manasmarita supate gunamste
manasmareta supater gunamste
Grinitava karma karotu kaya.
Nainamvita. Justin? Hare tava padaika mula asanudasa karma karotu. Anyone else? Hare tava padaika mula aso bhavitasmi bhuya anasmareta supater gunamse Synonyms altogether. Aham, I, Hare, O my Lord, Tava, of your lordship, Pada Eka Mula, whose only shelter is your lotus feet, Das Anudasa, the servant of your servant, Bhavatasmi, shall I become, Bhuya, again, Mana, my mind, Smareta, may remember, Asupate, of the Lord of my life, Gunan, the attributes, Te, of your lordship, Grinita, may chant, Vak, my words, Karma, activities of service to you, Karotu, may perform, Kava, Kaya, my body. Translation. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants, who find shelter only at your lotus feet? O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant, so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes. My words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your lordship. Purport. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Purport. This verse gives the sum and substance of devotional life. So this verse, we can all perk up our ears. This verse has the sum and substance of devotional life. One must first become a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Dasanudasa. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, and he also showed by his own example, that a living entity should always desire to be a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayor Dasa Dasa Anudasa. This means that one must accept a spiritual master who comes in the disciplic succession and is a servant of the Lord. Under his direction, one must then engage one's three properties, namely his body, mind, and words. The body should be engaged in physical activity under the order of the spiritual master. The mind should think of Krishna incessantly, and one's words should be engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord. If one is thus engaged in the loving service of the Lord, one's life is successful. Jai. Okay. So quick quiz. What are the three properties that we have? Body, mind, and words. Okay. Jai. So this verse is very important. It's showing us something so special, that we aspire to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Does anyone know why we don't want to just serve the Lord directly? Can someone give me an idea? You can just, Dustin. Okay, you need qualification of a guru to have bhakti. Actually, Srila Prabhupada often quotes this line from Narottam Das Thakur's song. Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Payeche Keba. No one has ever achieved liberation without getting the mercy of a Vaishnava. That's quite profound, isn't it? No one has ever achieved liberation without getting the mercy of a Vaishnava. So, like Dustin was saying, the Vaishnava is our key to liberation. They're our doorway to liberation. It's kind of described that to get into an exclusive party, you need like an inside guy to let you in. So it's the same way with the spiritual world. If you want to go to Vaikuntha, you need someone to invite you. You need to be invited. You need to be let in. Srila Prabhupada would say that. When we arrive at the gates of Vaikuntha, the gatekeepers will laugh at us. We're in the Kali Yuga, so much conditioning, so much, lust, anger, greed, and all these things. And so they'll laugh at us. But what do we say? Anyone know? Jai Prabhupada. We say that we're with Srila Prabhupada. And then they'll say, oh, okay, you may enter. And also, it's described to go to Goloka Vrindavan, we need the mercy of a Brajbasi. And Srila Prabhupada, the devotees were like, Srila Prabhupada, like, who's a Brajbasi? Who do we go to, And he's like, I am your Brajbasi. So in this way, we need to surrender to a spiritual master. And that way we become qualified. And then another point on this is that, yes, we surrendered to the servant of Krishna, but we also aspire to serve the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. That is our mood as Vaishnavas. And it's exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, as we just saw. And Krishna himself. Who wouldn't want to serve a devotee? Krishna himself serves the devotees. Krishna becomes the charioteer of Arjuna. Krishna washes the feet of Sudama Brahmana. And so he's showing us that we should never think of ourselves in some big light that we can't serve our fellow devotees. And actually we find that the further we go, the more mercy comes to us. It almost snowballs. If we try to directly serve Krishna, then, we get Krishna's mercy. But, what does that mean to get Krishna's mercy? A devotee once said that if you go to Krishna and you ask Krishna, Krishna, please give me bhakti, he'll check his pockets of his dhoti. He'll open his dhoti's pockets and he'll say, I don't have bhakti. Go to my devotee. My devotee has bhakti. Because Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He's the Supreme Enjoyer. But the devotee gives us bhakti. The devotee plants the seed, or perhaps waters the seed, reveals the seed that's already within us. But bhakti we get from the devotee. And when we serve the servant of the servant of the servant of the devotee, that's how our bhakti will grow the quickest. So I have a question. Why is it hard to serve our peers? Why is it hard to serve your fellow devotees sometimes? The ego, okay. Any other thoughts? Maybe you want to elaborate, Draupadi? Pride. But what about it makes us not want to serve the devotees? Okay. Yeah, so Draupadi was saying that our pride can make us say, oh, they should serve me. They should support my service. And an important lesson that we can learn is that our service is never more important than the devotees, in a sense, There's no reason to ever neglect a devotee, to push aside a devotee, to make a devotee feel bad for our service. Because that doesn't please Krishna. The point of our service is to please Krishna. I remember I've had a few instances where I'm like, my service is so important, like, get out of my way. And I've been reminded by my teachers that the relationship is actually the most important thing. Let's say you have to, make sure that Kalachandji's temple room floor is clean, but you have to offend a Vaishnava to, can you stop chanting in here? I need to clean the floor, or something. And then, you might have a clean floor. Krishna might have a nice clean floor, but is he happy with you after that? Yeah, that's a good answer. Any other reasons why it might be hard to serve our peers, serve a devotee? We think we're better than them. Yeah, it's quite classic. That's how the ego works. Daniel. The fear of being vulnerable. Yeah, so in this material world, we're used to people taking advantage of us. We're used to people stepping all over us. I was thinking another reason it could be hard is because perhaps we don't have love there. Perhaps the devotees are a little distant from us, and so it's a little awkward sometimes, or it's a little hard. So what do you do when you don't have love for someone? But you went to Daniel? Seek them out and try to make them your friend, and they're almost annoyed because you're trying so hard to make them your friend. Yeah, I've heard this analogy before that a pregnant woman, she has this baby in her womb, and she's serving it for 9 months straight. And when it comes out, it could look like whatever. It could look like, a blob. It could look like an alien. It could look like a baby monkey. It doesn't matter. But because of those 9 months of service, there's this love there. And there's like this deep attachment there to whatever it could have been. However it treats her, however it looks, however it talks, however it walks, there's going to be that love there because of service. Because the mother served unconditionally to this baby in the womb. Govinda Prabhu. Just a second. Yeah, the mic.
Perfect example of this is like videos online of like small bears or small tigers, and then somebody finds them and then nurtures them over their lifetime, and then they grow into like these big, giant bears or giant tigers, And when they see the same owner, they don't go and try to eat them, but they more like want to embrace them. And even though now they're humongous, so I was just thinking it's the same example. Even just between a human and a, another animal that's used to eating humans.
Wow. Yeah. So we're seeing it's even interspecies. Sometimes it can be like, oh, the devotees at my temple are so different from me. They come from a different culture. They're in a different ashram, maybe. They have a different guru or something like that. But even between species, they're able to have this bond. They're able to have this love because of service, because of caring for each other. So there's there should be no bar for us finding a way to serve the servant of the servant. All right, let me see. I have another verse we can look at. It's by Prahlad Maharaj. It's quite famous, so I think you guys will know it. All right. We can chant the Sanskrit together. We can just do it all in unison. Evam janamni patitam prabha. Wait. Evam janamni patitam prabhavahi kupe. Kama bikamam anuya prapatan prasangat. Kritvat masat surashina bhagavan grihita. Soham katanu vishije tavabritya sevam. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada, he has this song. I can't remember what it's called, but it goes, Krishna tava punya have bhai. You know that song? And he puts this verse in his bhajan. It's quite interesting, quite nice. Translation. Does someone want to read it? Someone want to read the translation?
My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires, one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service?
Jai. Okay, so the devotee who's speaking right now is Prahlad Maharaj. Are you familiar with Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsingadev? So there was this boy, 5-year-old boy, and essentially while his mother was in the womb, while his mother was pregnant with this boy Prahlad, she's the wife of the greatest demon like ever, basically. And so the demigods, they were like, oh, this boy is going to be a really bad demon if we don't kill him, because he's the son of the worst demon. And so they're like, we got to kill this boy. So they kidnap Kayadu, they kidnap the wife of Hiranyakashipu. And Narada Muni, who is like the guru in this situation, he instructs her on the transcendental science, and in the womb, little Prahlad is hearing the whole thing. Small little anecdote, but I've heard it described before that Prahlad, he's like this Mahabhagava, amazing like saint and all of that, and of course Kayadu is as well, but a part of it is that she fell asleep during the discourse or something like that, and so she didn't get the full benefit that Prahlad Maharaj might have gotten. So we can keep that in mind when we're hearing a class of some kind, is just stay awake. if you have to walk in the back, no judgment. But that's how Prahlad Maharaj got the benefit, was because he was in the womb, but he was still hearing attentively. Anyways, back to the story. This 5-year-old boy now, his father is trying to torture him. His father is trying to kill him. And the half-man, half-lion incarnation of Krishna comes to save him. Have you seen the picture before? It's like, okay. Yeah, and he's right there underneath Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, and he's ripping apart the demon. And so afterwards, Prahlad Maharaj, he approaches Lord Nrsingadev, and Lord Nrsingadev is no longer angry. And so Lord Nrsingadev, who's Krishna, offers this 5-year-old boy a benediction. He says, I can give you whatever you want. I'll give you whatever you want. And so Prahlad, he says this right here. He says, my first duty is to serve Narada Muni. How could I leave his service? So imagine that. Krishna is standing right in front of you. He's like, come, I can give you whatever you want. But still, even though Prahlad Maharaj is fully liberated, even though Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee, he still says, my first duty is to serve my spiritual master. How can I leave his service? I guess we have a little bit of time. We can read maybe the first paragraph of this purport. Someone please read.
As will be seen in later verses, even though Prahlad Maharaj was directly offered all the benedictions he might have desired, he refused to accept such offerings from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the contrary, he asked the Lord to engage him in the service of his servant Narada Muni. This is the symptom of a pure devotee. One should serve the spiritual master first. It is not that one should bypass the spiritual master and desire to serve the Supreme Lord. This is not the principle for a Vaishnava. Narottam Das Thakur says,
Bhakti Sanivas Janame Janame Hai Abhilas.
One should not be anxious to offer direct service to the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised that one become a servant of the servant of the Lord. This is the process for approaching the Supreme Lord. The first service should be rendered to the spiritual master so that by his mercy one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to render service. While teaching Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Leta Bija. One can achieve the seed of devotional service by the mercy of the Guru, the spiritual master, and then by the mercy of Krishna. This is the secret of success. First, one should try to please the spiritual master, and then one should attempt to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado. One should not attempt to please the Supreme Personality of God by concoction. One must first be prepared to serve the spiritual master, and when one is qualified, he is automatically offered the platform of direct service to the Lord. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj proposed that he engage in the service of Narada Muni. He never proposed that he engage directly in the service of the Lord. This is the right conclusion. Therefore he said, Soham katam no visruje tava britya sevam. How can I give up the service of my spiritual master who has favored me in such a way that I am now able to see your face? Prahlad Maharaj prayed to the Lord that he might continue to engage in the service of his spiritual master, Narada Muni.
So, I guess I'll wrap up our points. We're seeing here that this is it's described that a neophyte, they'll see it's me and God, me and Krishna, and that's all. Sometimes we see people come into a temple and it's like, just, I don't see anyone else in the room. I'm going to push and shove anyone who's in front of me, and because it's just me and God. And so this is actually a higher realization, is when we see God in the devotees, when we see Krishna working through devotees, speaking through devotees, and being served through the devotees, which Krishna, he prefers. He prefers service to the devotees over service to himself, because he himself is serving the devotees. We saw in the Rasalila that he's dancing individually with each gopi, but when there was a tinge of, I'm I'm the special one. Krishna's only dancing with me. That's when Krishna left the assembly. So if we think that, oh, I'm the special devotee, I'm the extra special devotee, Krishna, he actually doesn't like that much. He doesn't appreciate it. Of course, the gopis, they were instructing us through that example. They're pure, eternally liberated. But it's something for us to learn that Krishna wants to see us push others in front of us. And that's what we try to do when we share Krishna consciousness, is we put our own needs aside, we put our own, like Srila Prabhupada, he left Vrindavan. Imagine leaving Vrindavan. But why did he leave Vrindavan? He left Vrindavan to try to spread Krishna consciousness. One time I had this question. So we have this like highest philosophy, right? We have like, the topmost philosophy. We know the absolute truth. So how do we not feel like we're better than the people of the world? How do we not get this sense of being puffed up? Because that's a danger, is that we can walk outside the temple and be like, oh, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, you're a karmi, you're this. So I asked, like, how do we avoid this pride? And the answer I received was that we try to see ourselves as the servant of the people. We are the servant of the populace. We're the dasa anudasa dasa. So how do we serve them? How do we serve the population? Anyone have an idea? Daniel. Yeah, okay, we listened to them. Just a tiny anecdote. There was this this non-devotee who would always criticize Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he said, he is my best friend. Because he saw that he chose to take that from him. Tammy? Yes, we share Krishna consciousness with them. So that's actually how we imbibe this verse, is we become the servant of the servant of the servant of all these people, and that we bring them closer to Krishna. And we say, no, you go to Krishna. And yeah. All right. And just a final point. I heard this from this senior devotee in Vrindavan. And she really tried to just emphasize this one point. Serve the Vaishnavas to please them. She said this is like everything. If you need to remember one thing, this is all you need to know, is just serve the Vaishnavas to please them. Don't serve them for some gain. Don't serve them for some motive. Don't serve them for this. Simply serve the Vaishnavas to please them. I even set that as my phone alarm for a while. I got rid of it for some reason. I don't know why, but I would look at my phone in the morning and it would say, serve the Vaishnavas to please them. So I thought that's quite a nice mantra, quite a nice emphasis for us to keep in our minds. So it's 8:16. We can now open up for a discussion if anyone has any points. Govinda Prabhu.
It's a comment and a question. I was thinking, as Narada Muni was also attached to his spirit, Prahlad Maharaj was attached to his spiritual master, Narada Muni. The same example was Srila Prabhupada attachment to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Even though how Srila Prabhupada was so exalted, he still always attributed any success, anything he had, to his spiritual master. So it's just a recent example for a practical purpose. And I was wondering, how do we get this? We hear this, this attachment that they have, but how do we really develop this attachment to the spiritual master? So I just wanted to know from you, like, how does that attachment solidify into something so great?
Jai, well, I'm sure you know, but perhaps I can, for my own benefit, share something. It's like what we talked about earlier. Attachment comes through service. Love comes through service. So whether it's the Vaishnavas or our Guru or Krishna himself, we become attached through serving them. And the service is through these three things. I actually wanted to touch on this, but I didn't really get to it. The mind, body, and words. These three things, they're they're basically all we have in this life. Everything else is kind of coming and going, but mind, body, and words we can always use to serve. We can always use to serve Krishna and to serve the spiritual master. Prabhupada Priya? Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I was thinking another thing that helps us to become attached to someone, especially to our spiritual masters or senior devotees, is realizing our dependence on them. I was reading somewhere else in one of Prabhupada's purports. He said that love comes from dependence, and it kind of struck me because I was thinking, what? How is that? But then I was thinking about it, and I realized that it's true. And this verse that we read, text 26 of this section, it's kind of proof of that, because the three examples that Ritrasura gives for like yearning, for having that longing, like feeling separation and longing to be in the presence of someone, it's all examples of dependence, right? So he says that as baby birds who have not developed their wings always look for the mother to return and feed them. These tiny little babies sitting in the nest, they have no ability to get food for themselves, and they're just sitting there with their beaks open, screaming, "Mama, come, bring me a worm." So, and that's an example of how we should have this intense eagerness, intense longing to connect with the Lord in a relationship. And then the next one is calves tied with ropes await anxiously the time of milking. So the calves also, they're similarly dependent on their mothers, the cows, for their nourishment. And then the third one, he says, as a morose wife whose husband is away from home longs for him to return. So in this sense, the traditional wife was dependent on her husband for her maintenance and her protection. And so whenever he would be away, she would be feeling, lonely and vulnerable and unprotected and missing him. So when there's dependence, then that brings attachment, maybe in the beginning out of need, but then because you're depending on the person and they're providing, they're like coming through, they're fulfilling your needs. And our deepest need is our spiritual need, our need for knowledge and guidance and mercy. So the spiritual master and senior devotees, they're providing that, those most valuable things that really our spiritual life depends on. So when we have that mood of dependence and we recognize our dependence on them, then attachment naturally grows.
I wanted to just share a little thought on what you said. We should never think that we're able to be independent of the devotees association either. That's the most dangerous thing, is when we think that we don't need the devotees anymore and we can kind of go off and disappear and do our own practice of some kind. And I've seen that, so I just like to emphasize, always stay in the association of devotees if you can. That's really what we're reading here. That's the key to us elevating ourselves. And whenever trouble starts, we need that shelter of the devotees. Okay, Brahmadanga Prabhu.
On Govinda Prabhu's question, I was thinking that there's the 6 loving exchanges Rupa Goswami talks about. And in relation to the Guru, of course, it's nice if we can serve them prasadam and receive the remnants of their prasadam. But then there's more important, in my understanding, is revealing the mind to the spiritual master. And in this way we become attached by being transparent and sharing our heart, and then understanding the heart of the spiritual master. I was thinking of Srila Prabhupada's example. He felt he was always with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta because he was always meditating on his instructions. And then receiving and giving gifts, I was thinking that this one point of guidance Kalakanta Prabhu mentioned is at the end of the day we can reflect on what we've done. And he said we should offer 2 piles to the spiritual master. One is service offered, and one is anarthas purified. So in this way we can, at the end of every day, Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, here's a gift for you. Here's the service that I did. I went out on book distribution for so long. I talked to this devotee after an outreach event, and here are the anarthas I worked through today, and this is my gift for you. So in this way, Shadvidham Priti Lakshanam, then we naturally develop love and attachment. Hare Krishna.
Any further comments or reflections, experiences? In the way back. Way in the back.
I just wanted to add a couple of points along with what the was already said about this question about the spiritual master. How do we develop more attachment to the spiritual master? So one of the things that, of those 2 things, the first thing that comes to my mind is about Shraddha. There is a Sanskrit word by the name Shraddha, and what it is roughly means is having tremendous faith and belief that the spiritual master's words, in other words, the Guru Maharaj words, are for our own benefit, and he is telling what the correct things, and it is for our own benefit, and it is in our own interest that we follow them. With that tremendous faith and confidence, you start from there until you learn more from the scriptures by yourself, and also ask the questions and clarify your doubts at an appropriate situation. So that Shraddha is extremely important to develop that faith in the spiritual master, and also on our scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And then the second one that I can think of is in various places in the Vedas, the guru is equated to one's father. Likewise, we have heard of places in Srimad Bhagavatam itself or in other scriptures where every one of us have more than one mother, our biological mother, and 4 or 5 more mothers in terms of the guru's wife and etc. etc. You would have heard about that. Likewise, in the Vedas, the Guru Maharaj is also considered or to be equivalent to our father. So who else in the world other than our own father we can trust and put our faith on, right? So those are the 2 things that I wanted to share that came to my mind about this topic. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. All right. Any other points or discussion topics? Mishra Bhagavan Jai.
This morning's Prabhupada Nectar, a couple hours ago, Prabhupada said that if you can hear from the Chaitya Guru and the Lord in the heart, and you won't have to, and you'll learn everything even without reading the books. Did you hear that? Well, it's in the book that's right there in front of you. Dancing White Elephants. Arrow should be right on the sentence I'm referring to. Yes, please. I'm going to try to understand how that works.
Then he told me, by reading the book Bhagavat or serving the person Bhagavat, one gets the same result. Wait. Okay, wait. Just by serving the person Bhagavat, all the truths of the book Bhagavat are revealed, even if you do not read the book. That's what seems he's saying.
There's that verse, Yasya deve parabhaktir, yata deve tata guru tasya te katita hyarta. prakashanti mahatmana. So it sounds like Prabhupada is paraphrasing that only unto one who has implicit faith in both the spiritual master and Krishna are the imports of the Vedas automatically revealed. So even without studying, if we have that, like Prabhu was saying, if we have that strong faith in Guru and Krishna, automatically, dadami buddhi yogam tam, we understand everything we need to know.
Jai. Okay. Govinda Prabhu.
The perfect example of this is of the Brahmana who was illiterate, and he was reading Bhagavad Gita upside down. He didn't have so much ability to read, but but his spiritual master told him, and so because of those words, he read it upside down, and he was looking at the picture of Krishna, Parthasarathi, and Arjuna, and he was crying, and Lord Chaitanya was very pleased with him, even though he wasn't able to read it, but he understood it because he was serving his spiritual master.
Jai, wonderful point. And I sometimes forget that connection. I thought it was just because he was looking at the picture that was all the advancement, but it's because his guru told him to read the Bhagavad Gita. So he was just trying his best. That's all we can really do, is try our best. All right. Well, if no one has anything else, then we will wrap up and take prasad. All right. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vitrasura ki jai.